In the annals of ancient Rome, stories occasionally emerge that seem like fiction, yet are pure truth. This is the narrative of a man whose humble origins gave no hint of future greatness, yet through unwavering will and exceptional abilities, he ascended from obscurity to the pinnacle of imperial power. He was destined to initiate the construction of one of Rome's most recognizable and majestic symbols, a monument whose glory has endured for millennia. Moreover, during a period of profound crisis, when the empire was exhausted by years of mismanagement and decline under Nero's rule, and subsequently torn apart by a bloody civil war, it was this extraordinary figure who managed to steer it back toward stability and prosperity. Yet, on the day of his birth, no one, of course, could have imagined that this infant would ever ascend to the imperial throne. He became the last ruler of the tumultuous year of the four emperors and the first to lay the foundation for a new, powerful Flavian dynasty in the Eternal City. Titus Flavius Vespasianus, whose name would later be etched in gold letters into history, was born on November 17, 9 AD. His family, though not part of the ancient patrician nobility, aligned with the Roman middle class, engaged in trade or tax farming. In his youth, he seemingly showed little enthusiasm for public service or civic life, perhaps preferring a more tranquil existence. However, his mother's persistent urging played a decisive role, prompting him to follow his elder brother's example and embark on the challenging path of a political career. Thus, Vespasian and his brother became the first members of their family to achieve such a high position as membership in the Roman Senate. In the early stages of his cursus honorum, the traditional ladder of offices for ambitious Romans, his successes were only moderate. He held a series of minor magistracies, gradually gaining experience and influence. Although he had a lawful wife and 3 children, there was another significant relationship in his life, a mistress, a freedwoman named Antonia Canes. This woman held the notable position of secretary to Antonia Minor herself, the grandmother of the future Emperor Caligula. There is a well-founded assumption that this unusual and, perhaps, strategically important connection to the imperial household may have played a key role, contributing to his success in obtaining the praetorship, one of the most important magistracies, in 39 AD. This was undoubtedly a crucial step, foreshadowing his further ascent. A turning point in his career came in 41 AD, when Claudius ascended to the imperial throne. It was then, thanks, as many believe, to the intervention of Narcissus, an extremely influential freedman who was effectively one of Claudius's closest and most powerful advisors, that Vespasian was appointed legate of the 2 Augusta Legion. This appointment not only affirmed his rising status but also opened doors to significant military and administrative opportunities, essential for a man who would later bear responsibility for the fate of a vast empire. In 43 AD, when Emperor Claudius undertook a large-scale invasion of Britain, the 2 Augusta Legion was among the military formations specifically selected to participate in this significant campaign. Although the supreme command of the entire expedition was entrusted to Aulus Plautius, Vespasian's distinguished figure played a truly pivotal role during these events. He was tasked with ensuring the security of the island's southern coastal areas, which he successfully accomplished. During his military activities on British soil, Vespasian managed to advance deep into the country, even reaching distant Cornwall, and during his stay there, he subjugated over 20 towns and numerous hill forts to Roman authority. These impressive military successes earned him not only honorary triumphal decorations but also the opportunity to serve as consul in 51 AD. After this, he preferred to withdraw from active public life, which, however, earned him the animosity of Claudius's wife, Agrippina the Younger, due to his evident and close friendship with Narcissus. After some time, Vespasian was awaiting appointment to a proconsular position in one of the Roman provinces, and this appointment came in 63 AD when he was sent to govern the province of Africa. Assessments of his governance in this province vary. The renowned historian Tacitus describes his rule as utterly disgraceful and truly appalling, whereas Suetonius, another prominent biographer, conversely asserts that Vespasian proved himself to be an honest and highly respectable man. Nevertheless, it is reliably known that throughout his tenure in this office, he failed to enrich himself, which at least indicates he did not resort to extorting immense sums of money from the province. Such conduct was almost the norm and expected of many politicians of that era, who sought to secure funds for their early political careers and ensure a comfortable old age. There is even a tradition that his financial situation was so dire that he was forced to sell his ancestral estates and even engage in an unusual form of enterprise for a man of his status, transporting goods with donkeys. Upon completing his governorship in the province of Africa, Vespasian joined Nero on his extensive tour of Hellenic lands in 66 AD, where the emperor participated in various games and contests. Nevertheless, Vespasian apparently did not share the enthusiasm for the emperor's performances. He constantly grew bored listening to Nero's singing and his numerous rehearsals, often falling asleep. Such behavior reportedly provoked strong indignation from the emperor himself. Soon after, Vespasian was effectively removed from the imperial court, and gripped by deep fear of a possible order from Nero for his elimination, he hastily retreated to a humble town, seeking refuge there. However, his solitude was short-lived. Soon an urgent dispatch arrived from the emperor, instructing him to immediately depart for Judea with the crucial mission of suppressing the Jewish revolt that had erupted there. Vespasian's selection for such a critical assignment was due to several reasons. First and foremost, Nero harbored no fears concerning him, as Vespasian hailed from such humble origins that his claims to the imperial throne seemed utterly inconceivable. Secondly, and no less importantly, Vespasian possessed outstanding military capabilities, making him an ideal candidate for quelling the rebellion. Indeed, the situation in Judea at that point was nearing complete catastrophe. The previous governor had been brutally murdered, and the new governor of the neighboring province of Syria, attempting to suppress the uprising, fell into a carefully planned ambush with 2 legions, resulting in one of them disgracefully losing its sacred eagle, a symbol of Roman valor. Furthermore, in Judea itself, an ancient superstition had long persisted, claiming that future rulers of the entire world would emerge from these lands. This mystical prophecy, coupled with deep religious disagreements, served as the very spark that ignited the flames of a large-scale revolt. In April 67 AD, the Roman general Vespasian landed his troops in Ptolemy, a city known today as Acco, arriving there with 2 legions. Soon after, his son Titus joined him, bringing a legion from Alexandria, along with significant forces of local allies. The total strength of his army reached an impressive figure, approximately 60,000 soldiers. With this powerful army, Vespasian commenced his campaign, entering the region of Galilee, where many settlements submitted without resistance. It was in Galilee that he captured Josephus, who at the time led the rebel forces in that area. Josephus subsequently defected to the Roman side, joining Vespasian's campaign, and later authored an extensive historical work dedicated to Vespasian's military actions in Judea. By 68 AD, Jewish resistance in Galilee was completely broken. Vespasian continued his operations, securing full control over the coastal zone and establishing his main headquarters in Caesarea. In the spring of 68 AD, Vespasian resumed his offensive, advancing directly into Judea. During this phase of the campaign, he systematically captured rebel-held fortresses and steadily advanced towards the Samarian highlands. However, due to escalating political turmoil in Rome itself, Vespasian decided to transfer supreme command to his son Titus, who was to complete the military operation. Vespasian himself proceeded to Egypt, pursuing the strategic goal of ensuring uninterrupted grain supplies and effectively establishing control over the imperial capital, whose well-being and stability critically depended on these vital provisions. Meanwhile, dramatic events unfolded on Rome's political stage. Emperor Nero, declared an enemy of the state, chose to take his own life. Galba succeeded him on the throne. However, Galba's reign was short-lived. He fell victim to a conspiracy orchestrated by Otho and was killed by the Praetorian Guard. Otho, in turn, was proclaimed Rome's new ruler, but his time on the throne lasted only 3 months. After a crushing defeat by Vitellius's forces in northern Italy, he also decided to take his own life. Thus, supreme power passed to Vitellius, who was declared emperor. However, deep discontent persisted among the military contingents that had previously sworn allegiance to Otho. This situation led to the military unit stationed in Egypt proclaiming Vespasian emperor in June 69 AD, an initiative swiftly supported by the legions of Syria, Judea, Moesia, Pannonia, and Illyricum. Initially, Vespasian planned for the governor of Syria to lead the march into Italy. However, the Danubian legions, under the command of Antonius Primus, were geographically closer to the objective, and thus they were the first to advance into northern Italy. There, they inflicted a crushing defeat on Vitellius's forces in the Second Battle of Bedriacum, after which they entered Rome unopposed. Vitellius himself was found in his hiding place, subjected to brutal torture, and ultimately killed. During the fierce fighting that unfolded in the capital, Vespasian's elder brother, Sabinus, perished, and the majestic temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus was engulfed in flames and destroyed. From December 21, 69 AD, Vespasian was officially established as the sole ruler of the vast Roman Empire, proclaimed emperor by a decree of the Senate. However, his ascent to the supreme throne occurred during a period of profound state decline. Years of bloody civil war, along with the preceding era of mismanagement and extravagance characteristic of Nero's reign, had led to the catastrophic depletion of the imperial treasury. Restoring the empire's shattered finances became the new emperor's primary and most urgent task. To achieve this goal, Vespasian took decisive measures. He revoked tax exemptions generously granted to Greece by Nero during his famous tour in 66 to 67 AD, and, most notably, he introduced a tax on public toilets. This latter measure drew a reproach from his son, Titus. During a well-known conversation, when Titus expressed dissatisfaction with his father's decision to tax even urine, Vespasian, holding a coin to his son's nose, asked, "Does it smell?" Titus replied, "No." To which the emperor concluded, "And yet it comes from urine. Money doesn't stink." Unfortunately, the circumstances of Vespasian's arrival in Rome remain shrouded in mystery to this day. The exact date of his actual entry into the capital is unknown, as the journey was delayed due to unfavorable weather conditions. Historians suggest he arrived in Italy around 70 AD. The new emperor's reign faced significant resistance almost from the outset. As early as January 70 AD, a major rebellion erupted in the territories of Gaul and Germania, initiated by the Batavi, Roman subjects who had previously provided significant assistance to Vitellius in defeating Otho during the First Battle of Bedriacum. This rebellious uprising was decisively suppressed by the end of 70 AD through the efforts of Vespasian's son-in-law, the talented general Quintus Petilius Cerealis. Later, in 78 or 79 AD, the emperor faced another threat. His longtime general Caecina attempted to assassinate Vespasian, though the motives for this treacherous act remain unclear to this day. Upon ascending to the imperial throne, Vespasian represented a new man in Roman politics, as he possessed neither extensive influential family connections nor inherited legitimacy, which often served as a basis for power in those times. To consolidate his position and ensure the stability of his rule, he initiated a large-scale propaganda campaign aimed at establishing complete control over public opinion. Vespasian actively funded the works of various writers and historians to ensure the elimination of any biased judgments or negative sentiments regarding his person. It is remarkable with what striking favor these sources, among which fundamental works like those of Tacitus, Suetonius, and Josephus from this very period stand out, describe Vespasian, and with what sharp criticism they portray his predecessors on the throne. At the same time, on the distant frontiers of the empire, in the province of Judea, Vespasian's son, Titus, brilliantly concluded the siege of Jerusalem, after which the city was plundered. The enormous spoils garnered from this victorious campaign were directed towards the construction of one of Rome's most recognizable and majestic structures, the Flavian Amphitheater, which later became known worldwide as the Colosseum. This large-scale construction project was likely also an integral part of Vespasian's well-thought-out propaganda strategy. The amphitheater was built on the site where Nero's Golden House, an extravagant edifice intended solely for the previous emperor's personal pleasures and whims, had once stood. In contrast, the new colossal structure was intended to benefit and bring joy to the entire populace of the city. Furthermore, Vespasian undertook the completion of the temple dedicated to the deified Emperor Claudius, as well as the construction of the Temple of Peace in the Forum. All these colossal construction initiatives by Vespasian not only breathed new, robust life into Rome's economy but also significantly transformed its appearance, imbuing the city with unparalleled grandeur. They also provided thousands of jobs for its citizens, which, in turn, contributed to a significant increase in his popularity among broad segments of the population. After a decade of diligent rule, during which he tirelessly worked to restore the Roman Empire to stability and prosperity, rebuilding it after Nero's destructive reign and the subsequent bloody civil wars, Emperor Vespasian died of natural causes. This was quite an unusual occurrence for a Roman ruler, whose life often ended as a result of conspiracies or military actions. Sensing the imminent approach of death, Vespasian, according to tradition, uttered the famous words, "Oh dear, I think I'm becoming a god." His death occurred as he, demonstrating remarkable fortitude to his last breath, attempted to rise from his couch, surrounded by loyal attendants. He was 69 years old. His passing occurred on June 24, 79 AD. Notably, Vespasian was the first Roman emperor whose throne was inherited by his own biological son, Titus, marking a new era in the empire's history.